Hello guys, welcome back. This is George. During this video, we wanted to dive into a alarming and fascinating topic, which is the US debt. The US debt is over $34 trillion and climbing, and we wanted to see which president contributed the most to that debt. I am aware that not all presidencies are the same. They face different issues. Some of them are only for one term versus two terms. But we wanted to see the raw numbers to see which president contributed the most to that debt. Grab the popcorn and let's jump in. Let's kick off our list with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's presidency lasted from January 1993 to 2001. When he took office in January 1993, the national debt was 4.1 trillion. By the end of his presidency, the debt grew to 5.7 trillion. So in total, the US national debt increased by approximately 1.4 trillion. But here are some key points to consider. Despite the increase in national debt, it is important to consider in the later part of Clinton's presidency, especially 1998 to 2001, the federal government ran surpluses. These were the first surpluses since 1969. It's crazy to say that. The debt did continue to rise, but at a slower pace. Fourth on the list, we have George W. Bush. His presidency lasted from January 2001 to January 2009. In January 2001, when Bush took office, the national debt was approximately 5.7 trillion. By the end of his presidency, the US national debt had risen to $10.6 trillion. That is a national debt increase of 4.8 trillion during his two terms. Significant factors during the George W. Bush presidency were the war in Afghanistan and Iraq, which added significantly to the US debt, the 2008 financial crisis, and other new entitlement programs that affected the US debt and increased it to 4.8 trillion. Third, we have Joe Biden. Joe Biden took office in January 2021. When he took office, the US national debt was 27.8 trillion and it currently sits around 34 trillion. In the first 3 years of his presidency, he has added around 6.4 trillion. This spending came from COVID relief measures that he implemented in his first years, infrastructure bills, and other federal expenditures that we had. As we can see here, there's definitely a clear trend that as new presidents are coming along, they keep adding and racking more into the debt. Even according to the Congressional Budget Office, they project that if those current policies that we have in place will stay, the U.S. debt could increase by an additional 18 trillion. It's insane. Second is Donald Trump. His presidency was from January 2017 to January 2021. When he took office in January 2017, the US debt was approximately 19.95 trillion, almost 20 trillion. And by the time he left office in January 2021, the US national debt had increased to 27.75 trillion. The national debt had increased in total by 7.8 trillion, and this was mostly due to the COVID response. The COVID response between all the COVID relief packages and the CARES Act added approximately 5.4 trillion in US national debt, which is enormous. Still, the amount of debt that increased during Donald Trump's presidency for only one term is crazy. First, we have Barack Obama. Obama took office in January 2009 to January 2017. When he took office, the US national debt was approximately $10.6 trillion. By the time he left office in January 2017, the US national debt had increased to 19.9 trillion, an increase in US national debt of $9.3 trillion in his 80 years in office. Obama did face some issues regarding the Great Recession, which was faced between both George Bush and Obama, but there's definitely the TARP program was part of his presidency, but began under George W. Bush. The Affordable Care Act, additional military spending. Always military spending is a big deal. The economy was able to recover, but definitely at a slower pace. The big issue that we have from his presidency is, well, not necessarily from his presidency, but there's a bad trend that the debt to GDP ratio keeps increasing. So you have an idea how much the debt has increased. When Bill Clinton took office, the debt to GDP ratio was around 47.8%. By the end of his presidency, it had fallen to 33%. And right now, under Biden, our debt to GDP ratio sits at 120%. Insane. When Obama took office, it was 79 in 2009. And by the time he left office, it went from 79% to 105%. So the long term of the US debt definitely doesn't look good. And we all can feel it with the cost of housing, groceries, even cars. I remember it used to be crazy to see someone paying $1,000 for a car. Right now, most people are paying $800 to $1,000 on a vehicle, which is insane. It's crazy. With interest so high, currently our payments on the debt will reach $1 trillion. So you guys have an idea. We're going to be paying more on interest on the US debt than the US spends on military. That's wild. And at the pace that we're going in the next few years, by 2034, according to the Peterson Foundation, based on the Congressional Budget Office and all the numbers that they were estimating, the interest on the debt is going to be more than Medicaid, it's going to be more than military spending, and is going to almost reach Medicare. It's crazy. It's crazy. People are not thinking how big of a problem this is going to be for the future of the United States. Of course, our generation, the millennials, we're not gonna get a damn social security number. By the time we retire, oh, that's going to be gone. There's going to be something else, and we'll see who gets the blame for that. Well, this is it for me, guys. If you have any suggestion for me, or if you like the video, please drop your like. If you have a comment, any suggestions you would like to make, please let me know. And thank you.